Hello, New Wave of British Heavy Metal.com here. Today some excellent New Wave of British Heavy Metal related news, because the mighty Saracen, their album Vox and Excelso is having a reissue. And of course Saxon were there right from the start of when the New Wave of British Heavy Metal took off around the 1980s, weren't they? But drifted in and out a bit since then, but they're a fantastic band. Before I tell you about this most welcome reissue, if you wouldn't mind please subscribing to the channel, that would be marvellous, big help and appreciated if you would hit the button. That would be excellent stuff. But back to Saracen, say they were there right from the start, weren't they, when NWOBHM took off around the late 70s, early 80s, and they've got that something different about them, hadn't they? That mixture of superbly crafted heaviness along with the pomp and prog influences was like, well, they had nothing else like it back then, did they? And that was evidenced all over their most classic debut album from 1980, Heroes, Saints and Fools. The follow-up from a couple of years after that, Change of Heart, was a little bit of a more direct style. There'd been some line-up changes and some comings and goings. And then after that, Saracen more or less disappeared for around about 20 years before resurfacing in was it 2003, I think it was, with Red Sky, and then in 2006, so just 19 years ago, because it's early February 2025 as I'm recording this, they resurfaced with Vox and Excelso. And it's to be re-released next month, 28th of March, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure it's the 28th. To be re-released by Escape Music in a limited edition CD and vinyl formats with revised artwork that you can see here. And Escape Music do this sort of stuff so well, don't they? Most recently with Bob Catley's first two studio albums of The Tower and Legends. And talking about towers, Vox and Excelso is indeed a most towering album, make no mistake. Concept album based around the Knights Templar and the history, that medieval body of warrior monks who grew to become one of the most powerful military and financial organisations in Europe in the Middle Ages before a downfall, shall we say. But this story, that's woven throughout Vox and Excelso goes far beyond the Knights Templar and battles and whatnot, because the Knights Templar were guardians of ancient knowledge and secrets that had major implications back then throughout the Western world, and indeed secrets that are still protected and cherished to this very day. That's the history, and this album tells the story in a very powerful way. And in an emotional way as well, musically, with short narration parts here and there that link the whole thing together really well. And this album's got a lot. Steve Bettany always had a marvellous voice, didn't he? And he still does. Very smooth, powerful and effortless. Then you've got Rob Bendelow's searing guitar work. He supplies all the cutting riffs and the soaring yet controlled solos. Such a fine guitarist. Then we've got, soaring, swelling, atmospheric keys and synth runs everywhere to big up the sound, and Mark Cross, thunderous drummer. All the way through, from the smooth power of Meet Me at Midnight to the equally powerful closer of Priory of Zion, and everything in between. This album's just a musical tour de force. How can I try and describe it in one sentence? New Wave of British Heavy Metal meets Grand Illusion era Styx. Yeah, let's go for that. It's majestic, it's heavy, it's proggy, it's pompy, it's all that put together. Take the 10-minute centrepiece of Mary, for example. That's quite something. Switches between the power and the emotion as the Knights are visited by visions of Mary Magdalene herself. Then we've got The Order. Well-paced introduction sets the scene, dramatic synths warm everything up, and then we've got galloping guitars coming in. Then the alternates between the two. Marvellous stuff. You know, I think for me as a long-time Saracen fan going all the way back to the start, this album, Vox in Excelso, it's just as good, if not better, than Saracen's debut, Heroes, Saints and Fools. You know, the band had so much to offer, yet with 2 decades in between Change of Heart and this album, you know, momentum's well lost, isn't it? But in my opinion, Vox in Excelso is a must-have. Just by coincidence, I was listening to it yesterday, just before the email arrived from Escape and announcing this reissue. The vinyl will be a double-sided gatefold limited edition job, 500 copies, each individually numbered, and 500 CDs, and they're usually individually numbered as well. It says the 28th of March release date, 28th of March 2025, I've just checked. Ordered directly from Escape Music. I will put a link to them in the description below. You know, see if you can snap up one of the 500 in your format of preferred. After Vox, you know, Saracen released Marilyn in 2011. That's another concept album. This one based around Marilyn Monroe, and that's a good one as well. And then the last album they put out was Redemption in 2014. Another good one. And I wonder if Escape might have plans to re-release those two at some point in the future. Saracen do remain active here and there, sporadic live performances, and I was fortunate enough to see them in a very small venue in Chesterfield around about 3 years, and they were on top form. Great band, great album, do snap it up. I'll put a link to Escape Music below so you can go and do that if you'd like to. Until next time, please do subscribe to the channel before you go, because that would be marvellous. And as always, thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and take care.